All right, thank you very much for purchasing the PMZ. This is the video that I wanted to put out towards it. And although I know many of you already kind of understand the pre-market zone and what we're looking for in this trade, I want to kind of give you some more in-depth detail about what we're doing here. So always take into consideration the trend, okay? So meaning, here's a good example, and I just happen to have this on the screen. Um, this was not planned, so what we're looking at is we have trend, okay? And you can see it here. We're making higher lows, okay? Higher lows, and higher highs, okay? So the trend is up at this point in a down range, and you can see, I can't see all my charts over here, but you can see this was down, and then we found bids, and then we moved up. All right, so you need to take trend into consideration when looking at the PMZ. Okay, notice that the trend starts here. So on a down range, we tend to go sideways, consolidate for a couple days, and then we wait to break out of this ascending triangle, as some would say. Okay, you could look at it like this, higher lows, and we finally break out of here, and then we start this trend up. Now let's dial in and get a little bit closer. And this, again, this is just one example I want to show you. All right, so we break out of the ascending triangle. We wake up the next day. We want to trade the PMZ. Now, what we take into consideration is the trend is up. And because the PMZ is above the LIS, okay, in this case here, you could see that the box is green. What I'm looking for is for the move to continue up. The plan here is to trade as long as we're above the PMZ, the EMAs that I've chosen, which is typically the 9, the 22, the 44, and the 55. And then if you want, you could put the VWAP on your screen. Price comes into the PMZ, it bids above the PMZ, I take the trade. And also, if you have the edges, you can see we're going to use the edges as targets and so forth. Okay, now there's different scenarios with the PMZ. Notice that this PMZ is red, and I believe this is Friday. Okay, this is a great learning opportunity. So this PMZ is red, and what we look for when the PMZ is red for price to drop below. Price does drop below. It actually came down into our target here. And then it moved up very nicely throughout the day. It kind of took forever. And we get back to what we call the line in the sand, or back to the PMZ. Notice when price left the PMZ, okay, we have targets that we hit, and those targets hit very well. This right here, when price comes back up into the PMZ, look for it to be a rejection. And the reason I say that is because the box is red and we're underneath it. Now, can price go above the PMZ and be a trade? Heck yes. And it happens many, many times. So in theory, what we're looking for is rejection here. And then this creates another short opportunity. Because we had this chaotic candle here right into target, I didn't want to get short. And obviously, we are long the position for a swing trade. Okay. And I believe I took my swing. So we took this trade to the upside on shares, or if you decide to take on options, and we got this trade all the way back up to the list. Okay, and then I decided to buy calls here, took a little bit, and then they came back right at the end of the day. But what I mean is this could have easily got in the PMZ. Okay, and what we're looking for is a break above the PMZ. Now you can attack this different ways. You can say, hey, I'm gonna wait for the candle, a base candle, and then a higher high before I take the trade, and then I'm going to put my stop here. Remember, your risk is going to be here in the morning, and it's going to be right up here, and your PMZ high and PMZ low are going to be right here on your screen. Okay, so what that does is just take the math and subtract them, and you get your risk. So your risk is going to be here. This day you can see over here 107.40 to roughly, let's just say 107. Your risk was 40 cents. Okay, So if you would have taken this trade to the downside here, all right, so it finally came back. This is still red, okay? Say you were going to take this to the downside, you had 40 cents of risk, and price ends up moving from 106.99 into, the low 105.90 something. All right, so about $1. Not bad. Now, obviously, if we take stocks that are a little bit bigger, like Amazon, Shop, CMG, and so forth, then this is going to be a little bit more, there's going to be more risk in here, of course. All right. And your targets to the downside are going to make you a lot more money. However, the options are going to be a lot more expensive and so forth. But the PMZ is going to work across the board. Now, how do I use the PMZ everywhere else? Okay, so first I showed you the green box, and this is the red box. Okay, and I showed you two different ways. We can short this immediately. So if we front run it, we already know what our risk is in the morning. Now you guys see me doing that. When I say front run it, what I mean is I'm not waiting like a full 5 minutes. I'm not waiting 10 minutes, whatever your rules are. All right. So what I would encourage you to do with the PMZ is go back and back test it. You're going to find that some names, they just do this a lot. And their trending days are very, very few, either to the downside or the upside, but you get this kind of action through the PMZ. If you get that kind of action and you just kind of go back and look at it and go, man, every time it breaks out, it only gets about 30 cents. And when it breaks down, it only gets about 30 cents. That's not really what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a name that, hey, when it does break out above the PMZ, I'm looking for something that at least moves $1 or $2 or $5, right? This is what I want to see. This is just me personally. And on the downside, I want to see the same thing. I want to see that this thing can actually move at least $1 or so. All right. That's just me. If you're okay with 50-cent gains dropping or, pushing out of the PMZ, then that's good. But I think that you should find a good collection of names that you like to trade, which really they work really well around the PMZ. Okay. And let me see if I can find you some more examples. So this is the upside. This is the downside. All right. All right. So here's a good day where it shows you that, taking the PMZ, right, above the PMZ is not always going to work. Now, what could have prevented you here? I don't know because we did not trade PayPal on this day, but one thing you're going to see is I'm going to give you targets in the morning. So it's very hard for me to say. I mean, we could have traded PayPal on this day and my target could have been right here, and so we're not going to take this to the upside when we hit a target. So that brings me to my next thing. Make sure that you watch the video called Targets so that you can become proficient in finding targets and then asking yourself, okay, if the PMZ is here and I play the breakout, but I have a target here, your risk is defined by the PMZ. Let's say this is 50 cents, okay? So on 100 shares, I could lose 50 bucks if I'm wrong. Let's say that the target here is only 30 cents. So on 100 shares, I can make 30 bucks here, but I can lose $50 here. That doesn't sound good. So if this is your target, maybe this is not the trade that you want to be looking for, folks. Okay? All right. A couple other things that we look for that are so important. And this is why the list is important, okay? And this is why I'm selling this as a combo, because the list really helps out, or the line in the sand. All right. So when we do break below a PMZ and the list is close, this is also a target, folks. All right. And you know me, all my videos are impromptu. So I didn't plan this. We're looking for the drop down into the line in the sand, and then we look for support here, back into the PMZ, back to the list, and you can see that this day was pretty much flat and sideways. Now let's just move it around and see if we can find some other days. All right, so here's the PMZ. I believe this was Monday or Tuesday, and you can see it worked very, very well. The box was red. We came up into the box. We dropped. Lower lows, Once we reclaim that VWAP and 9, nice little push up. Now here's the test to you, and I know I'm talking to myself, but let's just say that price moved, okay, up into the PMZ. We would be looking to see if it's another short. Your risk here is defined by the 2. We're looking for price to come back down, just like this. Okay. Now, if we broke above, depending on what you want to do again, a lot of times I'll just take the trade immediately, especially if my risk over here is not very high, on a close. So I'm waiting for this candle to close. What's going to be my target? Right? So that's the test. Your target's going to be the line in the sand. The reason why the PMZ is red is because it's a gap down underneath the line in the sand. The reason why your PMZs are green is because it's a gap up above the line in the sand. Green, gap up above the line in the sand. If this would have dropped underneath the PMZ, okay, we would, and then we got that confirmation, it just couldn't get back in there, and we make that lower low, we are looking for the drop where? Into the line in the sand. Okay? Very simple process. Now what I want you to do is go out there and I want you to try, a couple names and just see, which ones work very well, which ones have wider risk, all right? And see which ones you like to trade, all right? You may want to wait, later on in the day. Just know, hey, it's above the PMZ, I want to take it. Maybe you don't want to trade the first 10 or 15 minutes because it's too chaotic for you. Now, there's different ways that I approach this, and I'm going to end the video on this note. You also have what we call the PMZ, the Trendy PMZ lower radar here. Basically, all this is telling you, this is very simple. Green means go, right, to the upside. Yellow is more of, just stay there. And if you notice, which is really nice about this, we're having no indicators. So basically, don't do anything, all right? And then it goes yellow. All right, it's neutral, and then it's telling you to go short here. This is Amazon, all right, and this is 1842, and it might not look like much to you, but as it tells you to go short, you're down here at around 1838, just a couple bucks, all right, and you can see here, neutral, and then we go red, okay, and then again, several dollars. Let's go back. This is a green one. You can see, you could get whipped out of this very easily, folks. And I know it doesn't look like much, but even if you would have taken this trade here, on the break of the PMZ, it's not bad. 1846 from 1840. Now, I believe we took this trade. So what we looked for is we stayed neutral, okay? And you can see here, once it wrapped around, it got back above the PMZ. Right there is where we took the trade into the target that we provided on that day. I want to say this was on, what day was this on? That was Thursday that we took Amazon's trade and right into target. Okay, notice price comes back down. PMZ no longer has any effect on any of the trades that later on that day. Here's the PMZ on Wednesday. All right, so breaks above, lists is your target. Okay, continue moving up. Price comes back down almost to PMZ, gives you that move again to the upside here. Okay, let's go back over here. You can see here, this is red, gap down from the line in the sand. Okay, makes the lower low, take the short. Nice trade. Moves back up all the way into the PMZ. Moves back down. I want you to study these and get to really feel these because they don't have to be traded just on the first open. There's a lot of cool things about it. Like, for example, let's just say that, we're sitting here and it's a red. We know the list is way up here and we know, this is 1823. This is 30. We know that's about $7 to the upside. If you get that, let's say higher high here, okay, and the candle itself gave you this right here and you said, boom, I'm taking it. There it is right there into the line in the sand. That's what you're looking for. Okay, so you're going to figure out how you want to trade this, folks. How you want to trade this. I've already given you how I trade it, but this is a really good tool to keep you going. Okay, So, any other questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I feel like I covered the PMZ pretty well in several videos. We trade them on the focus trades. It's just going to be, you know, what exactly, how you use this tool to better help you trade. All right. So, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for purchasing the PMZ. And again, if you have any further questions, please reach out to me. Thank you so much.